Welcome to our weekly program, The Inside Story of Chabad in America through the Mindel Archives. This is the second program of reading the Rebbe's letter inside. And I said till after Tisha B'Av, a few weeks, I wanted to read the Rebbe's letters the way the Rebbe said it inside. So last week we read a letter about joining Koilel. A person was in Chinuch and he wants to go to Koilel. If you should, you can always listen to the program. This week, I want to read, to be accurate, the way the Rebbe answered about Parnosa, going to college to get a degree, and about getting married, when the person should get married. But before I read this, I want to read you just a small letter, a few lines, where the Rebbe answered somebody. He asked the Rebbe, how does the Rebbe answer? How does the Rebbe know everything? So I just want to read you that before we go into the answer of college or marriage. So the Rebbe says like this, it's from the Rebbe: when people come to me for advice, I express my opinion and my views. In certain instances, I am all the more confident that my views are correct. Since in my many years associated with my father-in-law, the late Lubavitcher Rebbe of saint memory, I have had the occasion to learn his views on similar problems, and my views correspond to this. So that's how the Rebbe answered him, that this is how the Rebbe, the Anivus, we see the Anivus of the Rebbe, everything is because he heard it from the Frierdiker Rebbe, or he follows the Frierdiker Rebbe. That's what the Rebbe says in that letter. Now let's go back to the advice here, and I'm going to read again inside, the advice about Parnosa and marriage. Greeting and blessing. This is in reply to your letter in which you write about the matter of Parnosa. The thrust of your position is that nowadays considerably schooling and formal secular education are indispensable in order to get on in business or employment. You also contend that we need Jewish doctors, we need Jewish lawyers and other professionals, all of which poses a challenge to the primacy of the Torah education and early marriage. Although you begin your arguments with a quotation from the Shulchan Aruch, they are advanced primarily from the viewpoint of secular considerations. So I will address myself to this aspect of the problem, that is, from the secular viewpoint. To begin with, you must surely know that statistics show that an overwhelming percentage of college graduates establish themselves economically in fields other than those in which they graduated. This is practical. You are no doubt also aware that in this country, at any rate, it has been the trend for many years, and more so recently, that economic opportunities have been related less to college degree than to personal contacts, and being fortunate enough to get a push. In other words, it is not so much what you know as who you know, and that I've underlined that. For better or for worse, the fact is that the importance of a college degree has been on the wane in recent years. A further point, again, from the secular view is basic to the so-called exact scientists, namely, that the first thing is to know what the facts are, and only then can one try to explain them, for no amount of logic can alter the facts. This is the old philosophical rule that opinions follow reality and not vice versa. In regard to marriage, any psychologist will tell you that precisely in the materialistic oriented society of the United States of America, most marriages are entered into before the couple has attained economic security, and the acquisition of a home comes still later. Now for the problem itself, the Rebbe says, it is true that the rule of the Shulchan Aruch, which you quote, first establishing oneself in a business or profession, then buying a house, then taking a bride, would be the ideal procedure. But it had also been explained that this rule applies only when it is practicable. In earlier times, when standards of living were modest, it was possible to establish oneself with a parnosa at a relatively early age. However, in recent generations, if a man were to postpone marriage until he was securely established with a parnosa and has bought a house, it is easy to imagine the consequences. Indeed, there is no need to leave anything to the imagination, nor is there any need to go into painful detail as the state of morality in those circles where marriage is unduly postponed. Compare it with the high standards of morality and family stability in the frum circles, where early marriage is the rule. In recent years, a further consideration has come into prominence. We Jews are survivors of the Holocaust, and everyone should do everything possible to counteract Hitler's plan of the final solution, which his heirs have not given up. Anything that tends to reduce our Jewish people, God forbid, either quantitatively or qualitatively, through assimilation and the like, plays into hands of the enemies. Therefore, a Jew who sets up a home and family early on the foundations of the Torah, a binyan adeyad, in the fullest sense, deals a blow to Hitler's heirs and strengthens our people. Finally, there are further points in favor of early marriage. Parents are generally willing to help out their newlywed children until they become entirely self-sufficient. There are various relief agencies, federal, state, and city, with various helpful programs, as well as job training faculties, trade schools, and so on, all designed to make life easier in the contemporary complex society. In summary, from every viewpoint, not least from the viewpoint of a healthy moral society, it is not in the best interest of young people and the society at large to postpone marriage until they are fully independent economically, as you seem to advocate. You will surely understand why I cannot share your view, and the Rebbe signs with blessing. And here we see again exactly the opinion of what the Rebbe feels. Now, one more last thing I will read to you. As I said, I will read just letters from the Rebbe answers, and this is an answer that I found from the Rebbe. Somebody asked the Rebbe, Does the Rebbe want that all, they get married, that all Hasidim should go on shlichus? Is that the Rebbe's goal? All Hasidim. It's a shayla. So here is the answer of the Rebbe. You are undoubtedly right in believing that every Jew, man or woman, young or old, must do everything possible in order to live in a frum environment. Because that person also asked about living in a frum environment or go to shlichus. Not in a frum environment. The importance of this, living in a frum environment, may be seen from the Rambam, who was the guide for the perplexed of all time, and who included this in his famed code of Jewish law, Yad HaChazaka. The imperative need for a Jew to live in a frum environment is further underscored in his concluding remark, that if this is not possible, the person should seek out a cave to live in, or brush country, or the desert. So it means that the Rebbe feels that a person gets married, he should live in a frum environment. This is, the Jews always lived in a ghetto. But I can tell you, why does the Rebbe send shluchim out in who knows in places? Because the Rebbe himself gives koyach to that person. Otherwise, the person should not move to a not a frum neighborhood or environment. And the people that are not like Chabad, so they live in the ghetto together, they're right. Because they should not live in places who knows where. A Chabad, if he's sent by the Rebbe, of course only by the Rebbe, so the Rebbe puts his koiches into that person, that's fine, that's okay. But otherwise, a person should live in a frum environment. This is a lesson for everybody. So this is the lesson for today. And in Mitzvah Hashem, next week we'll continue our weekly program. Thank you.